Making Big Shifts, presented by Marketing Reboot, with your host, Josh Anderson.
Welcome back to the Making Big Shifts podcast by Marketing Reboot. I'm your host, Josh Anderson, where we talk to real entrepreneurs making big shifts and the real results to follow. Today, I'm joined by Shawna Suckow, who is an author and marketing leader, and her most recent book, Small Is Your Superpower, How Small Businesses Finally Can Outsmart Big Brands at Marketing. So welcome to the podcast, Shawna.
Thank you, Josh.
We're really excited to have you. And just to give the reader or listeners a little bit of background. So what is your background and how did you become this marketing leader and author?
I was a corporate buyer for over 15 years. And so I was marketed at and pitched at thousands and thousands of times over the years. And I just started to notice patterns of what worked to get through to me and what didn't. And I wrote a book that I thought would be helpful to the people who had become my friends to help them be less frustrated in their sales and marketing. It launched me very much against my will into the realm of public speaking. And
against your will, right?
Yes, I hated it. But eventually it took me about a year to realize it's not about me. It's about the audience. And if I have knowledge that can be helpful, then I need to get over myself. So I did.
Love it. Yeah. If you have value, you need to provide it, right? It can help other people. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I think you've done 5 or 6 books now. Was is Small Is Your Superpower? Is that your 5th book?
It's number 7. That's crazy.
Wow.
My high school English teacher would be aghast to know that I even wrote one. So
that's awesome. Well, let's dive into that. So we're both in marketing, of course. Let's kind of dive into the theme behind Small Is Your Superpower. Of course, the name kind of says preludes to what it's about. But in your own words, how can small teams beat these big brands out there?
I just feel like so I study consumer behavior and B2B buyer behavior, and there's just this huge shift that I've been noticing where I feel like now finally small businesses have an advantage if they know how to leverage that. Yeah. And that all hinges on the fact that trust is at an all-time low in our country against businesses in general. 98% of us distrust businesses more than we did 10 years ago. That's from my own poll.
Interesting.
And so when that's the case, you can't come at prospects and customers as a business, because if they don't trust businesses, you have to come at them as a human being. And nobody's better at that than small businesses, and nobody's worse at that than big businesses. So I feel now is just a turning point.
Yeah, there's a lot in that, right? Why do you think people are they're losing trust in businesses? What's kind of going into that?
I've been paying attention to this for about 10 years, and it all started, when I first started tracking it, it was tied to the Great Recession of like 08 through 10. And big businesses, big entities were being bailed out by the government while families were losing their homes. And that was like, why them? Why not us? And so that started it. And then it's only gotten worse thanks to like the economy and politics on both sides of the aisle. It's just, we are becoming really divided as a nation in all ways. But it seems like now there's more us versus them between consumers and businesses than, it doesn't seem like there is, according to my research, more than ever before. Everything about marketing is shifting. Your podcast, Marketing Reboot, you're feeling that too, obviously. So it's a crazy time.
Yeah. So what are some ways that these small brands and these small businesses can use that as leverage? How can being authentic, right? That is so vastly important. Social credibility, social proof, things of that nature, which I don't even honestly, I realize reviews are very important, but sometimes when you see like 4.9 out of 5 of 10,000 reviews, a lot of people might just look over that as well. But how can people take advantage of that?
I think it all comes down to what I call out-humaning your competition. So it doesn't have to be always aimed at big businesses. It's just they're easy targets because they've lost. The bigger a business gets, the more it departs from its transparency and authenticity and humanity. And it becomes more of an entity, a brand, a business, whereas small businesses can out-human their same-sized competitors or huge competitors by just losing the pretense, losing the professionalism that is to an extreme, the polish. Like we don't trust any of that right now. We don't trust what big brands say. We don't trust posturing. We don't trust video that's too perfect. We're so skeptical. So removing all those barriers and just talking on your videos, in your text, on your social, on your website, in all ways, just like you're talking to a friend over coffee. And
Right.
that is what stops the scroll. That's what builds trust quicker than anything right now.
All right. Well, yeah, that's hard to do though, right? Because if you're
Mhm.
continually like in the history of your brand, you've always been very polished, of course, right? Every
Yeah,
social post gets approved by 5 approvers, takes forever to do anything.
yeah,
But now
yeah,
you're suggesting that it's a lot easier for smaller brands. I understand that. But
yeah.
how can people start integrating that? It's almost like user generated authentic content, right? How do you start
Right.
integrating that into your marketing strategy and plan?
Well, the smaller you are, the easier it is because you're
Totally.
right. You don't have all those layers of approvals and the time that that takes because agility is really important right now, too. And
Yeah.
so it's just a matter of if you are a micro business, even, it's just giving yourself permission because it feels risky to just remove all of the filters and the perfection and just talk into your phone or just
Hmm.
have normal conversation, even if it's one way on your website and so forth. It's giving yourself permission because for decades and decades, it's been that you have to look and act big no matter what size you are.
Yeah.
But small businesses, they don't have the teams to really do that effectively. They don't have the budgets to do that effectively. And so why even play in that sandbox?
Yeah.
Because the big businesses are going to beat you every time. So create your own sandbox where they don't play well. And that's just acting like a real human that you are and talking about the good and the bad, talking about what happens behind the scenes, being vulnerable, showing the messy, what I call the messy middle. I don't think I coined that, but that's just the term that I use, where, you don't show just the perfect ending all the time.
Yeah.
So
I should do a blooper reel of the podcast because I totally messed up the introduction earlier. And like having blooper reels like that is like endearing, I hope, maybe if people
I
are
I think 10 years ago is when I started adding my blooper reels into my speaker sizzle reels or
nice.
demo reels.
Yeah.
And I was the only one who did that until, okay, that I know of until like a month ago. I saw another speaker doing
Yeah.
it and I was like, yeah, I think our customers don't trust sizzle reels because it's only the things that we choose
Yes.
to show them and the perfection and all the sound bites they want to hear.
Mhm.
I think they also need to know that we're human beings and we're not perfect.
Right.
And it's
100%. Yeah.
humanizing.
Yeah. And
So,
kind of going back to what you said about being very polished and on point on everything you do, and you're not going to compete with the big brands on that. It kind of goes back to quite honestly doing less better, right? In my mind, like doing less platforms. You can't be on all the platforms just because you don't have either budget, time, or time usually. So focusing on the platforms that are of interest to you, obviously where your ideal customers are, and doing those better.
yes, especially the smaller you are. I don't care if you have 100 employees or 500 employees, you're still, technically a smaller
Yeah.
business. And the smaller you are, the more hats everybody has to wear. So doing less, but better I think that should be like an anthem. Like we should write an anthem about that
Oh,
because they don't
yeah.
have time. Every decision that they make to spend their time on takes time away from something else. And so I literally just wrote about this and I'm doing a podcast episode on lose all the platforms, which also feels scary because we're told we have to
Yeah.
be everywhere, but small businesses can't do that well and sustainably. Pick the one, maybe two that are going to be most effective for you. And the rest, it's okay to let go. As you grow, you can
Yeah.
add them back if you want to. But the more you drill down and do less better, as you said, costs less time, it costs less money because you're focused and you don't have to spread yourself so thin, money
Yeah.
wise, budget wise, time wise, resource wise, people wise.
No, 100%. On the newsletter last week or something, I wrote about essentially, what if you, so say, and on one platform, say LinkedIn, and you post 4 times a week? What if you did it 3 times a week? Would anybody actually notice? Actually, watch the results and see if anybody would actually notice, and then you'd have more time to do the other 3 or 2 better, right? So
Yeah.
it's about those
Yeah, exactly.
experiments. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
What?
if you go from 4 a week to 1 every other week, people will notice. So it's about
Right.
what can you do within your bandwidth and do consistently. Like if you're a realtor, your buying cycle can be a year or 2 or 10 years. You don't probably need to post 4 times a week on any platform.
Yeah.
So it's also about your sales cycle and what you're selling, but it's just staying consistently visible on 1 or 2 platforms. And I know it's scary. I've been there myself and I gave up Instagram. My platforms of choice are LinkedIn and YouTube. But now, my VA is like, her Instagram's looking light, and I feel that pull too.
Yeah.
And so what I tell her is only post there if you can just repost, the same thing.
Yeah, repurpose.
That doesn't cost you any more time, because that's not where my core audience is.
Hey, sorry to interrupt the podcast really quick. If you're getting value from making big shifts, please subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the next conversation. All right. Appreciate it. And now back to the podcast. Yeah. No, there's a lot to that, right? And then, and then kind of goes like the fear you're talking about posting less, but there's also fear about, you're also you also help with personal branding for like solo influencers, right? And sales pros. A lot of those people aren't used to posting in general and actually creating that authentic content of speaking into the phone. How do you help coach them to get over that fear and actually post?
It is the number one pushback that I get when I come off a stage, and I'm a huge proponent of video and just talking into your phone, and you don't have to have the perfect background. In fact, the video that was most popular of mine recently, I was walking in an airport. Like stuff like that stops the scroll now more than me in my office with my curated background, which also I think your background is important. It should tell a story of you and it should spark conversation if you're going to have one. But even walking down the street, those types of things stop the scrolls. And so I tell my audiences and my consulting clients, for the next week, pay attention what you pay attention to on social media. And I bet it is not the polished and perfect. It is just a single person talking into their phone, just telling the truth in a compelling way. So getting over that, because I hated myself on video. I hated myself on microphone. I hated myself on stage. But it's just getting to the point where what you have to say and you helping your customers is more important than how you feel about how you look and sound. So just repetition is going to get you past that really quickly. You just have to do it and get it out there. Done is better than perfect. And I think after like the 5th video, it's going to feel normal to you. But stop doing all I do retakes too if I totally flub something. But otherwise, it's more human if I just keep going and go, wow, that was a mouthful, or, whatever.
Deep breath and there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if I flub it like 3 or 5 times, I'm going to be like, that totally sucked. But otherwise, I just get over myself because it happens over coffee with a friend. You're just be like, I don't know what that was. It was a glitch in the matrix. Whatever. You just keep going.
Oh, 100%. One of my personal friends here around where I'm from, he owns a video marketing agency, and he said it's so hard for people to get to do that. Just that iPhone talking, and he's if you can give him 15 to 30 minutes of that kind of content, whether it's driving, of course, but on the side, like in your car, not actually driving, or just walking down the street or in the airport or walking through your office and just talking about your business, he can create like 2 months, or anybody can do this, but he can create 2 months worth of social content from that, right? And it doesn't have to be a huge lift.
No, and you can, depending on your bandwidth, and if you have anybody to help you, you can, as you know, you can repurpose one video 10 different ways. And there are inexpensive VAs that can help you overseas if you're comfortable with that. But it does not have to be a heavy lift. It can literally just be that video on 1 or 2 platforms. And then once a week, if that's all you have time for, is better than none at all. Or inconsistently.
Agree. And the platforms you said you lived on, LinkedIn, YouTube, that's same here, right? Just because you can repurpose that content into short snippets, transcripts into blogs, transcripts into social posts, just everything.
Yeah.
Well, there's exactly. You can be very smart about it.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be overthought. It can be anything. I strongly believe in anything that's story driven more than if every one of your social posts is a pitch, you've already lost your audience. So the more you can literally just talk about something that happened that was interesting at work, something that happened when you were at the coffee shop that reminded you about a funny story, or just the fact that happened, it doesn't always have to tie back to your business and what you do and what you sell. It's more humanizing if there's a mix. And so what is something funny that happened in your day? Or what's something crazy that happened at work? Or did an order get lost? Anything can become a story that you just tell on your phone. And it's seriously, as you said, 30 seconds. Doesn't have to be, I'm going to sit down and write a script and do all the things, and it's going to be 10 minutes of perfection. It's stressful. I get it.
Yeah, perfection takes time, right? And that's where people get bogged down, like actually writing the scripts. And then the script has to be perfect. It has to get approved by your CMO, whoever's doing it. And then you actually do the video, and then the editing has to be perfect. Yeah, it's just
okay,
layers and layers.
I have an admission. I have a self-own to share because I still struggle with this. I own a couple businesses and I still struggle with this when I'm trying something new. So my
Yeah.
podcast is new and I was super nervous about the very first episode because
Oh,
it's
totally.
new.
Understand that.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to miss anything important. So I scripted it. I don't speak with a script. I don't even speak with a list of bullet points. I don't do anything with a script, but I was so nervous. I went into AI and I was like, turn all this into a script so that I don't miss anything. And then I had to figure out like a teleprompter and all this stuff. And I recorded it and it was terrible. Like I literally had to re-record the whole thing
Yeah.
because it's so not me. And you can tell my eyes aren't looking at the screen and you can tell I'm reading. And for me to not even take my own advice, I get it. It's hypocritical. It's hard to try something that's new to you and not be worried about the outcome because you feel like you're being judged, but I have to take my own advice. And if what I know can be helpful, get over myself. And I know it's hard. It's very intimidating when you're new to video or new to podcasting or new to anything. And so, I have to self-own as well because I failed as well, but you fail forward and you do better the next time.
So much that goes into that. That's for sure. And like I just wing my podcast introduction now, apart from like the points I want to hit about the bio of the people, because I think it was like my third or fourth podcast that I had done, and it was Robert Allen. He's awesome. He's a best-selling author multi-time. Yeah, it was a great
It's a
podcast
great
interview.
episode, by the way. Listen to it, everybody. That was a great episode.
I appreciate that. But at the end, we at like all these, we end recording and then just kind of chit chat about next steps, right? But he was like, Josh, I love that, but never read off that script ever again. He was essentially like just very, very straight with me. And I was just like kind of taken back. And then I go back and watch some of the earlier episodes where you can like, clearly I'm looking at this paper over here, reading it, and the eyes aren't there. You lose the authenticity. There's so much to what you just said about it.
Yeah. Well, what I am, because I'm still new at podcasting. So what I've decided is okay for me. I don't want to miss really important tips that will help my audience. So I do bullet points. And so I will occasionally look down, and that's okay. I am not as experienced as you or certainly Robert Allen or the guy who was on about podcasting. I forget his name. That was my favorite episode. Yeah, that was my favorite one
great.
because I'm starting to podcast, but it was so good. And it's okay to he goes live. I'm not there yet to just go live. That takes some serious courage, but it's okay. Done is better than perfect. So I'm going to look down occasionally because I want the content to be really helpful, but I don't want it to be inauthentic and perfect. It's just, that's not what we're going for. And that's not what anybody who's trying something new should be worrying about. So hope my flub and cell phone gives you, your listeners, permission to just go out and try it. And even during that video, if you say, guys, I'm so nervous, this is so weird to me, but I just wanted to share this thing, you're going to get so much grace.
Agree. Yeah. And then like, as you're probably getting it, as you do video podcasts, it's very, very hard to be on for 30 minutes and not look down occasionally. So people give you grace for that. They understand.
Yeah. And I just was like, maybe I'll just not do video, but my chosen platforms are LinkedIn and YouTube. So I just have to put on my big girl pants and just keep moving forward. It's hard. I get it. So they are not alone. Anybody that is weirded out about trying any new form of marketing, it's, you just got to give yourself permission to not be perfect because that's what your audience wants anyway.
I love it. Yeah, 100%. Now, as we go into 2026, where do you see the trends in marketing? Just the continuation of authentic content, user-generated content. What are you seeing coming down the line?
It's really interesting. So I follow this expert on LinkedIn named Richard Bliss, who's just phenomenal. Highly recommend if you can get him on your podcast. But he just announced that the LinkedIn algorithm has totally changed. And I'm a huge proponent of video, as I said, but video is now the least important of what LinkedIn is now tracking through AI because it's the most expensive use of AI and takes AI the most time.
Yeah, energy.
And so it's flipping everything on its head. So what that means is we know video is still the most engaging and stops that scroll. So we still have to do video, but now just add a little summary of what it's about so that the algorithm knows, okay, this video is worth diving into and seeing if it's worth pushing out to people that are interested in this content. So that's an interesting trend that I'm
That is really interesting.
learning. And, of course, AI, which I do use extensively as a small business to make my life easier, but with trust being at the forefront of every consumer, I think every consumer has a BS meter that's on high alert. We have to use AI as an assistant, but not as a pilot. Like we can't be the co-pilot in our own marketing.
Yeah. Definitely have to keep the human in the loop the whole time, right? And I think it was another podcast, Brynn Tillman was saying that she implements it into the context of the settings. It essentially says, if I am not giving you the information, do not go out and find it or do not make it up. Because you're exactly right. You want to make sure you're 100% truthful. And your voice, your topics, your ideas are the database it's living off of, right? So very interesting.
Exactly. So I think the trend is only going to continue in distrust and skepticism on the side of our prospects, whether they're business to business or business to consumer. That line, by the way, is becoming paper thin because at the end of the day, human is a human. And we are now less professional thanks to COVID, blurred those lines and grayed that area. And we are just leading more with humanity at business and at home. And so our prospects are going to continue to demand that of us and reward the businesses that give it to them. And it's just going to be harder and harder for big businesses because of the layers of approval, the legalities. They have to buy their own bylines and board of directors. They have to be more generic and appeal to everybody, whereas a smaller business can stand firm in the audience that they really want to serve. And they can speak directly to them and not have to be so generic and vanilla. And I think that's going to appeal a lot more too. And the consumers will vote with their money.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you're 100% right. The smaller brands and the winners that are going to be winning, they're going to be taking a specific angle, specific authentic angle to that very specific audience, right?
Yeah.
And and they're going to win compared to this blanket approach.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's another reason why small businesses are poised to really win, because big business has a really hard time steering the ship in a different direction. I was at a speaking engagement, and before I went on stage, there was a guy from Google Fiber on stage, and he was like, we are trying to seem like we are embedded in those local communities, but we struggle with that. We just can't, like, they know we're not there, but we're trying to sound like it and look like it. And, we know better. We know better.
Customers call BS on that essentially, right?
Yes. Yeah. And so why would any small competitor of Google Fiber try to look like Google Fiber when they know if they just say, we are your neighbors and we are here in your community. So spend your money with us because it stays in your community and it funds your schools and your taxes and all this stuff. That's the edge they have. They don't have the edge to outmarket Google Fiber and play in that sandbox. So,
yeah, that's really smart. It makes me think of there's this Zimmer Radio. It's a radio station around here, and they do a really good job at local marketing. So there's several little towns around. Like if you were from out of town. Or out of this area, you would read the name like it reads. One name is looks like Olene, but it's Olean. Only if you're from this area would you know how to say that name, right? And that's where everybody, and they do such a good job of like doing that with these little towns around here and bringing in that they are truly here. And I just think that's a very smart tactic to show that you're one of us, so to speak.
So I grew up in Colorado. I live in Minnesota now, but I grew up in Colorado. And we always laughed at outsiders or people back then on the radio that would say Colorado. So if you're a native of Colorado, you don't say Colorado. Oh, you're right. It's just a way that you can signal to people who know better that it's not Olean.
Yep. Exactly right. Yeah. You instantly cut through the BS and like, okay, you know what you're talking about. Oh, there's that credibility builder, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, what are you working on now that you're excited about? Another book in the works, or are we just what's going on with you right now?
My book, Small Is Your Superpower, just launched 8 weeks ago. So please don't even suggest. But I know because I'm talking in the book about exactly what's working right now, that a year from now, that might not be the case. So this book will more than likely have to be updated every year. And so it may be this is just volume 1. So, but in the meantime, I am working on helping as many small businesses as I can through consulting or doing marketing assessments, one-off type things that small businesses can afford. The thing that's taking up my bandwidth the most is my podcast. I was so slow at doing it. And so finally I'm on board. So I'm on board. It's called Underestimated, and it's all about helping small businesses who are underestimated to leverage exactly what their assets are in a way that is going to make them super competitive.
I love that name. That's a great name.
Thank you. Thanks.
The book is getting great reviews on Amazon when I'm on there looking. You guys
you.
need to check out the book. You need to check out the podcast. Where can we find? I'm guessing. Well, obviously, I just said the book's on Amazon. Where else can we find more information about your podcast, your book, what you have going on?
You can find out more information about me, the book, all the things at thebuyerinsider.com, which is what I've been known as because I was inside corporate for so long and kind of revealed all those secrets. So thebuyerinsider.com, or on Amazon, my book, or Underestimated, wherever you consume your podcasts.
There we go. Look for it right beside Making Big Shifts. That's awesome. Congrats on the podcast launch too, and the book launch.
Thank you. And also for you, I am loving your podcast and your guests. It's what I listen to on my way to work now.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Any parting advice for the listeners out there that you would give to help them get over that hump and just start creating that authentic content?
Get out of your own way and just take the leap of faith. I wish I would have gotten out of my own way with my podcasts so long ago, my books, with my narrowing down to not just be marketing for everybody, but just for small businesses. And everything changes when you just take the first step. Just do it. Get out of your own way.
I love it. Thanks for joining us on the podcast and all the great advice you've given today.
You're welcome. This has been so cool just to have what feels like a regular conversation.
Yeah. That's what we're going for. Well, everybody, that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to the conversation and the podcast today. Be sure to subscribe and like, and we will catch you on the next one. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to Making Big Shifts by Marketing Reboot. It would be a huge help to us if you subscribe to the channel and share this with somebody that you think needs it. Your support helps us continue to bring great guests on board and keep the conversation going. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Making Big Shifts. Like, share, and follow for more. Join us next time on Making Big Shifts, presented by Marketing Reboot.